everybody, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is your Collider Movie Talk crew. First up, senior producer Jon Campea.
Well, hot damn, everybody. Welcome to the show, coming to you from right here at the Collider Video Studios here in Burbank, California. Quick announcement, we have renamed Movie Talk to Campea's Movie Talk.
We are still in negotiations about that name change. Also here is writer-director Jon Schnepp.
Yeah, I think Campea was talking to this guy, Saban, or Saban. Saban. Yeah, Saban. They got into this big drinking match last night, and then we came in and found out, like, Darkwing Duck has been renewed. A lot of weird duck stuff is happening. I don't know what's going on today.
Also here, it's Mark Ellis.
Look, more ducks is better. The problem is when you include Chippendale's Rescue Rangers in there. It's the worst theme song in the history of animated shows. Get rid of it.
All right, now listen. While I agree with everything Mark just said,
Chippendale.
Hey, as happens sometimes, a couple of news items have just dropped after all the show notes, so you will not see them in the sidebar here on the side, but a couple things. And the first thing to go is this. Collider.com, our very own Collider.com, which, by the way, you should make sure you bookmark Collider.com, is now reporting that they have the name and the budget for the new Power Rangers movie. Are you ready, everybody? Drum roll, please. The official name of the new Power Rangers is stupid. It's Saban's Power Rangers.
What?
I'm not lying.
No.
I'm not lying.
Wow.
The dude put his own name on it. It's now, the new Power Rangers movie is called Saban's Power Rangers. And reportedly, Collider is also reporting that the budget for the film is going to be $35 million, which is probably right around, maybe a little bit under where I expected, but right in the ballpark of where we were expecting that to be. Schnepp, you were overjoyed with this news just a minute ago.
That's right. The excitement was barely containable. Saban, however you say his name, he's the guy who, I think in the late 80s or early 90s, bought all of the original footage, I believe it was Japanese footage, of just all these different, like, Voltron-y type shows, like bug shows, monster shows, and then created the Power Rangers by, basically shooting in the U.S. just the kids who turn into the
and
Power Rangers.
Splice it into original footage,
and just
right?
cutting in all the action scenes and the monster scenes into so it was kind of a hybrid, weird idea to sell toys. It was a gigantic hit. Everybody loved it. So apparently, and then, it ran its course, and then they did another version of it. I think it was like Turbo Force or Super Kids or whatever. It was like Power Rangers Tiger Monster. Yeah, there was like one with tigers. I remember like the Tiger Kids or whatever. It's like, so they had a bunch of different versions of it, and then they did a movie that had everybody's favorite guy, Apocalypse, was in it.
Right.
And so now you got Saban he's putting his name in it.
Ivan Ooze joke, everybody.
Yeah, it was
Ivan Ooze joke.
Even though I don't agree with it, I had to throw it in there. So yeah, look, man, he's trying to brand. He's like, look, I'm the one who brought the Power Rangers, so he's getting that credit that he really thinks he deserves.
It just seems like an egomaniacal play to me. Does this mean that the Power Rangers will no longer be morphin' mightily? Like, are they not? Are we taking those words out and we're putting Saban's Power Rangers in there? It's as simple as, does it pop on the poster? No, it's going to look stupid on the poster. It's going to confuse people. It's like, oh, these are Saban's Power Rangers. Not a lot of people. I didn't know who the hell Saban was. I didn't know that there was this guy who owned Power Rangers. I was just aware of Power Rangers. That's the movie that a lot of people want to see. They don't care about Saban's Power Rangers. Do you make more money if you put your name on the poster? Like, do you need it? Like, is that cooler to walk into a bar with the poster? And it's
right.
like, oh, that's my boy Saban. That's him. Those are his Power Rangers. It just seems ridiculous to me. I don't think you need it on there, and I think it hurts the movie a little bit.
I don't know if it's Saban or Saban or Subaru or whatever his name is. Look, ultimately, to be fair, I honestly don't think this will hurt the film, but it'll hurt the perception of the film. It's just a dumb title. I mean, look, everybody who was gonna go see Power Rangers is still gonna go see Power Rangers. Not gonna go, wait a minute. It's called Saban's or Saban's or however the F you pronounce it. It's now his Power Rangers? No, I'm not going to go. I think people will still go.
What if it's a really weird storyline and it's actually really is Saban's Power Rangers, or however you say his name, Saban. Now I don't know how to say his name. But what if it's like, he's like, I made this show, now I need to make a musical, and it's like actually Saban's Power Rangers, and it's like he's in the movie. That would be fantastic.
This sounds like a touring group on ice.
I will see that.
Saban's Power Rangers.
Saban's Power Rangers. I will see that movie if he's in it, and it's a bunch of like 5 kids trying out like Gem and the Holograms. We want to be part of this. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, because anytime your movie gets compared to Gem and the Holograms, it's good news.
That's always good stuff. All right, so let me ask you about this then. Let's just quickly, since we're on the topic of Power Rangers, the reported budget, $35 million. I think that's right in the same price range as like the original Maze Runner and stuff like that. It's a bunch of unknowns. Nobody knows these actors. Not a lot of experience with these actors.
I think that's the price range of the 1998 Turbo Power Rangers or whatever. So it seems like it's in fitting. They're like, what? It cost us $35 million back then. Why should it cost more? Right?
I hear $35 million, and I think this movie's going to be 1/5 as good as Gambit. That's my take on this. You're hiring. If you're hiring no-name actors, you put them in suits most of the time. You don't have to spend a lot of money on your talent, even though they might be very good actors. The special effects to me was always one of the laughable things. I never liked the Power Rangers TV show. Just never cared about it. Wasn't in my world. I always thought it looked silly. I always thought it looked ridiculous and cheap. So $35 million, you want to make sure that you make the effects and particularly the monsters that show up, you want to make them at least believable. I think with modern technology, you can pull that off with $35 million.
I hate to disappoint you, Mark, but I think what they're doing with that $35 million is they're building an actual high school, and then they're going to destroy it. Because what they're just going to do is purchase all this other footage from overseas of the actual fighting and stuff. They're not going to do it.
What's the name of the high? Is the name of the high school Saban's High School?
There you go.
I think about 20 of that $35 million would just be putty costumes. So the guys, we're the bad guys. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, another piece of news also dropped before we get to our main topics here. There are a couple reports floating around right now. At least I'm getting this on Twitter, and I just looked up a couple things as well. Reports are that the trailer for Captain America Civil War will be attached to the new James Bond Spectre film coming out on November 6th. Now, if this is true, it's certainly not going to debut with Spectre. That means it's going to drop online probably somewhere between November 2nd, November 3rd, and November 4th. So if this is true, good timing for this trailer, Schnepp?
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, did they forget to make a trailer for this film? It's coming out.
Damn it! I know I forgot something.
They haven't even had a teaser yet, so I don't know if this is going to be
like
the
5
teaser.
months away. 6
I know.
months away.
But still, the excitement for it. You're like, is it going to be attached to The Force Awakens? You don't know. So it's exciting to hear. At least I don't have to watch a football game to see the Civil War trailer.
Okay, that was a really bad football game to watch. That was not a banner Monday night game. Jimmy Bond's he's got to feel like Atlas right about now because he's carrying the weight of not only the Avengers but also Star Wars because that trailer is attached to Spectre in theaters as well. So there's going to be a lot of cool. It's going to be great even before Spectre starts, which I hope is a great movie. You're going to see a lot of cool trailers if this news is true. I am curious as to whether it's going to be some of the same footage that we saw at D23 or whether it's going to be a totally new trailer because the footage they showed us at D23 was a lot longer than your typical trailer. I think it was about 3 or 4 minutes. So I'm very interested to see how they cut this thing together, and I can't wait to check it out.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's just going to be the footage from D23, and I don't even think it's just going to be a pared down. I think we're going to see some new stuff in this trailer that we didn't see at D23.
Spidey?
I gotta think you're at least gonna see a silhouette or a short, quick cameo of Spider-Man.
That'd be
I gotta
amazing.
believe they're gonna do it. They're gonna want to start to get this buzz rolling now with the general population, the general movie-going audience. So, look, it's not a guarantee, but personally, I'll be a little bit surprised if we don't get at least a little glimpse, even if it's right at the end of the trailer. Hi, everybody, and then it might even be something as stupid as that, and then they move on.
But it should be noted that the footage we saw at D23 had no Spider-Man in it whatsoever.
No Spider-Man.
So it's interesting to see. Are they going to Luke Skywalker him? Like, are we ever going to see Spider-Man in the trailer before we actually see the movie? It'll be fun to see.
All right, well, now let's get started with the main topics today, which we have recently retitled Sinead's main topics of the day. So, Sinead,
I like that one.
What's
That's
going
one
on?
I can get used to. Pitch Perfect 2 was a phenomenal success for the studio. The sequel took in almost triple of what the original film made when it took home over $285 million at the box office on a measly $29 million production budget. So it should come as no surprise that a third film is on the way. Now, The Hollywood Reporter is reporting that Elizabeth Banks has signed on to direct the third film also. John, what do you think of Elizabeth Banks returning to direct Pitch Perfect 3?
Well, Pitch Perfect, the first one, was a real pleasant surprise to me. I was late to the game. I ended up watching it much after its theatrical run was done, and I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it. It was a really fun little film. And Elizabeth Banks came in to do the second one, and look, I would break international war crime laws for Elizabeth Banks. I love me some Elizabeth Banks a lot. But Pitch Perfect 2, which was Elizabeth's first directorial debut, I thought it was a step down from the original Pitch Perfect. I still enjoyed myself, but it was a significant, I thought, decline. And I think a lot of that decline had to do with the direction. So now, granted, it was her first film. I'm curious to see how much she's grown, all that kind of stuff. But I got to admit, I'm a little pessimistic about her coming back to do a third one. Hopefully, fingers crossed, she's learned a lot. She's going to knock it out of the park. She's got a couple of other directorial things, 2 more films lined up besides Pitch Perfect. I can't remember the names of them right now. But so hopefully she's going to bring a lot more experience to the table, and we're going to see a better version of Pitch Perfect 2. So we'll see how that goes. Schnepp, what about you?
Yeah, I also was late to the table as far as seeing the first film. I saw it on cable, and I thought it was fun. It
really was.
It was a fun film. I didn't see Pitch Perfect 2, so I can't comment on her directing style. I am happy for her, though. I think she's a really great actress. And she obviously made the studio a lot of money with Pitch Perfect 2.
Yeah.
So whether, she's the greatest director in the world is not really that important, as opposed to like, hey, whatever you did in the second one, we want you to come back and do it in the third one, because whatever you did made us a buttload of money. So
yeah, well, now it's going to be called Elizabeth Banks's Pitch Perfect, so
That's
that's a difference in the poster. I'm not a huge fan of this decision yet, and I hope I change my tune once I see the movie, because I do believe.
I see what you did there.
See?
Change your tune.
See what I did? She's got, obviously, I love her as an actress. She's great as Effie Trinket. She's great in a lot of movies, like that People Like Us movie she was in with Chris Pine, I think. Phenomenal in that. Could have got nominated. She was that good. Behind the camera, I just don't see it yet. Pitch Perfect 2 was a disappointment to me. I still enjoyed it a little bit, but I think it had so much more potential. You can get so much better as a director. It's like any other crap. You can get better and better with more reps. So I hope that she comes back and crushes Pitch Perfect 3. Because I like this franchise. I really do.
Yeah, me too.
And Schnepp, you made a great point. It made a lot of money for the studio. So this might be a situation where they're like, you know what? We know artistically it wasn't the achievement the first one might have been. Let's not change anything with Pitch Perfect 3, because we want that $70 million opening weekend.
that's right.
All right, what's next?
Deadline is reporting that Paddington director Paul King has agreed to return to helm the sequel, Paddington 2. King will also be co-writing the script for the new film, picking up on the success of the original, which made almost $260 million worldwide on just a $55 million budget, and scored an outstanding 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. There's no release date yet for the new film, as producers want to give King time to develop the new project. Schnepp, are you looking forward to a Paddington 2?
I certainly am. I absolutely loved Paddington, and I didn't grow up with a Paddington bear, so I didn't have any nostalgia attached to it. I was like, I heard it was good. Hey, let's go see Paddington. And I got weepy. It made me feel happy. It was such a fun family film, and I'm so happy to hear that the director, Paul King, is also coming back. He's writing it. I think he captured the tone, and I remember I hated the trailers. I remember, like, even on the show, I was like, those trailers are horrible. And it really was like a really badly put together trailer for an incredibly amazing, well put together family film. So I'm looking forward to Paddington 2.
I unabashedly loved Paddington. I loved that movie. I came out of that movie with a huge smile on my face, feeling good, wanting to go back in. The main dude from Downton Abbey, because my wife watches all the Downton Abbey stuff, so I recognized him right away. He was wonderful in that movie, the way they played off. And you know what? Originally, King's Speech actor Colin Firth was supposed, for the longest time, was supposed to be the voice of Paddington. And about 4 months before the movie came out, Firth said, look, I've stepped away. I've stepped out. I just talked to the director. I said, you know what? We're watching these cuts, and my voice isn't right for Paddington. The movie will be better if somebody else does it. And I thought, oh, that's a damn shame, because I love Colin Firth, but he was so right. They got a great voice for it. I think it's Ben Whishaw that stepped in and did the voice, and it was a much better fit. It was charming and cute and wonderful and just made you feel good. And the fact that they are moving ahead with another one, because Paddington is one of these types of properties that you don't go, we don't need another Paddington. Of course you don't need another Paddington movie. I just want to hang out with that damn bear some more. And I'm really excited. I'm glad they're bringing the original director back, so I'm really happy about this.
I'm with you, boys. I'm slurping the marmalade as well. I can't wait to see another Paddington, because the sense of humor in Paddington, the way that it appealed to kids and adults, which is so much harder to do when you're dealing with live action. It's one thing, like Inside Out is great, and that's an anime, that's a Pixar film, and you expect greatness from them to appeal to kids and adults, but to do it with Paddington, the way that the bear looked in relation to the live action actors around it, I thought it was genius the way it was done start to finish. Such a great surprise. I am so on board to see Paul King's Paddington.
All right. And with folks, with that being said, it's now time for us to move on to Jon Schnepp's Buy or Sell. This is how it works. In front of her, Sinead's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. And after she does, those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell. So, Sinead, what do we got?
Variety is reporting that yet another Monopoly movie is in development. This one, however, will be a little bit different as it will focus on the true story of how the game came into existence. And it's a little more interesting than you may think. The film will be based on 2 separate books, The Monopolists, Obsession, Fury, and the Scandal Behind the World's Favorite Board Game, as well as The Billion-Dollar Monopoly Swindle. Mark, do you buy or sell a Monopoly origin story movie?
Yeah, Schnepp, don't throw anything at me. I'm going to buy this. And it's because it's the story of Monopoly. It's not a movie like about Monopoly. It's not
about going to jail and collecting $100. It's about the actual drama behind making the game.
I'm kind of in love with that idea too. But yeah, this one, I mean, look, there is a fascinating story behind Monopoly. It's like such a beloved board game. Even though when you play it, like after 2 hours, you're like, you know what, I'm done with Monopoly. Hopefully the movie won't be like that. There's such an interesting and rich history to just how the board game became to be in our consciousness. I think this is a great idea for a movie.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm excited about it because I think the game was first published in 1935 or something.
Yeah.
Now, my all-time favorite video game, my all-time favorite board game is still Risk. I can play Risk all night with some buddies, but Monopoly is the most iconic of all the board games. Like, maybe you could make an argument for Candyland or Snakes and Ladders, maybe.
Shoots and Ladders.
Shoots and Ladders.
Sorry.
That sounds horrific.
In Canada, it was Snakes.
In South Africa, it's Snakes and Ladders.
In Canada, it's Snakes and Ladders.
Well, obviously, Americans aren't as smart,
No, they want shoots. What the hell is
Shoots
shoot?
make more sense with ladders than snakes do.
Silence!
Yeah.
All right. So, and maybe Life? Maybe Life, would you put... What other board games? Would you?
I would say Trivial Pursuit. If that counts as a board game.
Parcheesi.
Clue. Clue's a good one.
Dennis has thrown out Clue.
And Clue was a
great
great. Clue was a great movie.
But Monopoly, you think board games, you probably think Monopoly. I've never been a big Monopoly player myself, but the drama behind what ultimately became a billion-dollar business with Monopoly. I think that could be fascinating if you do it kind of in the tone of a Social Network or something like that. Could kind of be interesting. So while I'm not real excited for the other Monopoly movie that's going to be about, the guy running around going, I'm buying Boardwalk. I'm not excited about that, but this one I am. Schnepp, what about you?
I'm completely excited. I can't wait to see what Thimble is going to do. I would love it if they were all just metallic characters. Like, we're stuck on this board game. What should we do? The whole 2 hours of them just shuffling along a board game. Ridley Scott produced the most epic. Yeah. So anyway, enough about that exciting movie. This I totally buy. The real story behind Monopoly. I did a little research on those 2 books, and I found out that it's really interesting. Monopoly was actually stolen. Like, the guy who sold it to Parker Brothers ripped it off of a woman who came up with the original game 30 years ago. Her name's Lizzie Maggie, and she made a game called the Landlord's Game.
Right, yeah, that's right.
And it was basically not about owning property and taking and being the filthiest rich person around. It was about sharing wealth, and it was the complete opposite of what Monopoly ended up becoming.
The capitalistic flagship of Monopoly.
It's pretty fantastic. So to read that, I was enthralled by just reading this about the 2 different books. The other book is sort of like takes that information and makes it a little more of a detective movie. So they're going to combine both of these books into one movie. So it sounds fascinating. So maybe they could release both at the same time. So you could be like, what are you seeing after you see Monopoly? Monopoly. Or like the Monopoly Origins or whatever they're going to call it.
Monopoly Year One.
Yeah, Year One. Right.
All right, what's next?
It's being reported that Academy Award nominee Rooney Mara and Nicholas Hoult have signed on to star in the upcoming film The Discovery, a science fiction love story set in a world where the existence of the afterlife is scientifically proven. The Discovery is set a year after the world-changing discovery of a provable afterlife. Hoult plays the son of the man responsible for the discovery, and Mara plays a woman he falls in love with whose life is tinged by a tragic past. John, do you buy or sell the sounds of The Discovery?
Yeah, I buy it, and for a couple of reasons. Number one, Nicholas Hoult, a few years ago, if you had said, hey, this kind of awkward-looking kid, he might actually go out. And now he's like on a roll. Not only does the X-Men franchise, he was fantastic in Warm Bodies.
Right.
That movie could have easily not worked. It's one of those films that a lot hinged on the performance of your lead guy, and I thought Hoult carried it really, really well. And then, of course, he's got Mad Max Fury Road. I live, I die, I live again. I live again.
Yeah.
Witness. Okay, so and he played his role really great in that. This dude is on a roll. He still has more X-Men coming out as well. So the concept is fascinating. to me, maybe somebody else thought, oh, no, that was in a video game once, maybe. But to me, it's a completely original idea. I love Rooney Mara, so I've been looking for her to get back to that same form that we saw her in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I don't really think she's had the opportunity to really showcase herself since then. So maybe this might be the vehicle anyway. So for me, it's a buy. Mark, what about you?
It's a buy for me too. And Holt and Mara are real talents. But again, the concept alone, I don't care who you could have. Pauly Shore and Yahoo Serious could be in this movie, and I'm like, I like this idea so much that there's a provable afterlife, because we've seen love stories before where like somebody dies and then maybe you're still in love with them, or you can be like Ghost. You can kind of be in touch with their spirit.
Still feel the presence.
But that's just like, you have like a crazy Whoopi Goldberg running around trying to convince people that no, there is really Patrick Swayze was really
She was just in the foyer doing that 5 minutes ago.
Yahoo Serious, he's running across the street.
Now.
The ghost form of Yahoo Serious.
But we've never seen it. I miss Yahoo Serious. So we've never seen it like where it's just scientifically proven. So that's an interesting angle to take, and so I'm definitely on board.
I love the idea. I can't get the idea of Yahoo Serious out of my mind. And Pauly Shore. Why those two together? That's like the weirdest combo.
Young Einstein, Reckless Kelly.
Anyway, that Yahoo Serious, he should be in the movie. You guys should find out. Sounds great. It sounds like a great premise. And yeah, it is really a fun way to set a science fiction film by saying the thing that, divides countries, that creates war, religion, all this stuff over beliefs, this thing is actually finally in this movie proven. And then everyone just is moving forward and having their breakfast, and they're like, no, it's real. Now what do you do?
Yeah, I want to see how they prove it. I want to see, is it like Paranormal Activity? Do they get a ghost on camera?
I feel like it'll already have been proven by the, that's already a done deal. And so they're like, that's at least my idea.
I think the story's supposed to pick up 1 year after the discovery's
been made. That is from reading into it, that's what I'm thinking of. That, they've already discovered it. And now this woman's going through some trauma. I mean, they're obviously going to interconnect in some way and maybe go into past lives or whatnot. It sounds very interesting.
With a year out, okay, so we discovered this a year ago. Is it now socially acceptable to take a ghost on a date?
That's a fascinating.
Ghost speed dating?
Yeah, just like sitting at Olive Garden and there's nobody in the chair across from me, but I'm talking to her. They're like, oh, he's not crazy. He's
There's
on a date with a
like
ghost.
Tinder for ghosts. No, too decomposed. All right, I don't know, maybe. All right, what's next?
If there was any negative feedback at all from the most recent and final trailer for Star Wars The Force Awakens, it was the complete lack of Luke Skywalker. When asked about the absence of the quintessential Star Wars hero from any of the marketing, director J.J. Abrams has said the following: "These are good questions to be asking. I can't wait for you to find out the answer. It's no accident." Mark, do you buy or sell J.J.'s statements?
I buy it. I was one of those people where the Star Wars trailer ended and my first thought was no Skywalker, and then 5 minutes later when I had a chance to calm down, dry my tears, change my pants, I was like, you know what? This is actually the right way to sell this movie, because now we're curious, where the hell is Luke Skywalker? The marketing for this movie is a mirror image of what the movie is going to be. You might not get a lot of Luke Skywalker, but when he comes on screen, my God, is it going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, on this show, I talked about just 24 hours before the trailer dropped. I'm like, oh my God, if they show Luke.
Right, we were talking about that. Even just like a green lightsaber shows up.
If they had shown, bear with me as I repeat what I said before, but they had shown that Force scene with Kylo Ren with his lightsaber out and he's facing, and maybe he's just beaten Rey, and Rey's down on the ground like this, no, and then, you see Kylo Ren turn around and behind him is Luke, mother effer Skywalker, and he turns on his lightsaber and is about to proceedeth to kick some ass. I mean, I literally would have pissed myself. I literally would have pissed myself with joy. Now, it wasn't there, and the trailer was still amazing. And I think this was the right move. Clearly, they are trying to keep the Luke stuff under so much, buried under so much stuff right now. And I got a feeling, remember they said when that first wave of toys came out, they said actually everything, all the stuff in the toys is all from the first act of the movie.
Right.
I am not going to be shocked or surprised if everything we've seen in that trailer is from the first half of the movie. I won't be surprised about it at all. They want to keep this Luke thing under wraps. I get it. I understand it. I would have been very happy had they showed us stuff. He clearly has a plan. And look, they've got more stuff planned, because there's a reason they're not telling us Rey's last name. They're not telling us Finn's last name. They're keeping all that hidden from us for now. I got a feeling it's going to come out before the movie actually releases, but I get it. I understand it. And so I buy his comments.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I'm sure we'll see Luke Skywalker. We know he's in the movie, but the way they've played it, you're right. It's a mirror of what the movie's going to be. The movie is going to be some kind of a search for Luke Skywalker and to try to find, does he hold the rebirth of the Force, or is he a Sith now? Whatever it's going to be, we're all going to go on that journey with the characters, and that's the way a good story is. You're on a journey and a discovery with the main characters, and you're going on a quest or an adventure. That's what these kinds of films are. So it's very exciting to me, and I totally buy. I guess this is JJ's mystery box. Luke's inside of it. You know what I mean? Every movie's got a little mystery, so that's what this is.
All right, folks. Well, listen, it is Wednesday, which means it's time for us to talk a little bit of Rewind, brought to you by our friends at AMC Theaters. This is a segment of the show we kind of call the Feeling Old segment, where we talk about all the films that this week are celebrating their 10th birthdays and their 20th birthdays. So let's start off with the movies turning 10. Turning 10 this week, we have The Legend of Zorro, Prime, Saw 2, and The Weatherman. And turning 20 years old this week, we've got the classic Vampire in Brooklyn. We have 3 Wishes, Powder, and Copycat. Schnepp, out of these films that are celebrating birthdays this week, the 10th and the 20th, which ones stand out to you?
Well, just the poster alone for Copycat and Powder, I didn't realize how close and similar they are. Yeah. Both creepy dudes with glasses reflecting stuff. The Powder one is it's definitely a strange film. A lot of shots of a dude who's like hairless, taking showers and stuff. It's like, I remember watching part of it and then just turning it off. I was like, I don't need to watch any more of this. I don't care what happens to Powder, whatever this weird like ghost goth kid. I do remember The Weatherman though. The Weatherman is a really fun film.
I enjoyed Weatherman.
Nick Cage with his bow and arrow, kind of hanging out, doing weird stuff, So those are the ones I remember.
Now, wasn't Copycat, who's the big jazz singer?
Harry Connick Jr.
Was he not the villain in that? That's right. I remember that. The one, Legend of Zorro, I had a lot of fun with Legend of Zorro as well. Saw 2, when Saw was still a pretty good franchise. Vampire in Brooklyn, like this. But yeah, for me, the one that stands out the most to me is The Legend of Zorro. I wouldn't mind seeing, honestly, another Zorro film where now Antonio Banderas is in the position that Anthony Hopkins was in at the last Legend of Zorro, and now he's passing it on to John Boyega, or I don't know, or something along those lines. So I don't know. Which of these films stand out to you, Mark?
I saw Prime and I got excited because I thought it was Primer, the time travel movie that came out in 2004.
Which was awesome.
Vampire in Brooklyn, one of my all-time comedic idol, Eddie Murphy. I remember that movie coming out and being excited for it, and it got such a horrible critical reception that was the continuation of the decline of Eddie Murphy as like a box office superstar. Now he's made like good family movies since then, and the Shrek franchise, but in the 90s he was really struggling. It was like that and Beverly Hills Cop 3. They're just a lot of movies, and you saw somebody who went from being like an A-list star to being like he got made fun of on Saturday Night Live for that movie, and that's why he never came back until the 40th anniversary. Also, Powder is a movie that didn't do that well in theaters, but it's just still today in the consciousness of everybody.
Everybody knows what Powder is. Yeah.
And they get it. Like, I could be on stage at any comedy club in America, say Powder, and they know I'm talking about the dude who got struck by lightning who's totally pale and has these weird powers. It's kind of cool.
All right, folks. Well, listen, it's that time of the show now for Mailbag. And listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address in the show, you can email us anytime at collidervideo@gmail.com. Now, we are doing this show live right now, which means we can get messages from you. So if you're watching us live right now, just tweet in a question to us at Collider Video. Sinead is monitoring the Twitter feed right now, so send on in some questions. We'll get to some of those after we're done with Mailbag, and maybe you can get your tweet on. But for now, let's get to the Mailbag questions. So Sinead, what's in there?
Ben writes, "Hey Collider crew, I have 2 questions for you. Since almost everyone will appear in Marvel's Infinity War, who would be on your top 5 list of superheroes to die? And who do you think the new Avengers lineup will consist of after Part 2? Thanks, and keep up the great work."
For most of the question, can't even really get into it. That's just, we could sit here for hours.
Everybody
and speculate.
dies.
Yeah. And anybody could be in the new Avengers. Who knows? But it does just bring up the question, because usually people form this question as who's going to die in Civil War? That's usually what people are asking. I honestly don't think anybody's going to die in Civil War. I mean, if it is, maybe a Hawkeye, maybe some third-string lieutenant in S.H.I.E.L.D. working with Nick Fury. I mean, I don't know. But it ain't going to be Captain America. It ain't going to be Thor. It ain't going to be any of the major players are going to die. But Infinity War, that could be a different story. Like a lot of people the last few months, talking to me about, oh, you think Captain America could die in Civil War? Nah, Chris Evans already confirmed he's starting to shoot Infinity Wars Part 1 and 2 immediately, like as soon as they're done with Civil War. He's booked for 9 months for shooting that, so it's not even just a cameo. He's in all of it. But Civil War or Infinity War 1 and 2, these are different stories. It's very possible we're going to see somebody die. Now, I have always said, look, they're not going to kill Robert Downey Jr. because he's their money franchise by now. But by the time Infinity War Part 2 is done, it's probably time for Robert Downey Jr. to move on from the character anyway. So I think Iron Man could be on the chopping block. I think it's possible the Chris Hemsworth Thor could be on the chopping block. I still don't think Chris Evans as Captain America is going anywhere, but that's certainly a possibility. I don't think we're going to see Scarlet Witch go anywhere. I think she's safe for a while. I think Hawkeye is a possibility. Some of the newer characters, I definitely think Falcon could be up there on the sacrificial mantle. I think War Machine, Don Cheadle's War Machine, could be up on the sacrificial. There are very, very few people that I would consider automatic locks that they're safe for something like Infinity War Part 1 and 2. I think just about everybody is going to be fair game for that, except for Captain Marvel's not, because we got films coming. I think Black Panther is going to be safe from it as well. Those would be a couple, but I don't know. Schnepp, who would you think would be automatically safe from getting axed in Infinity War Part 1 or 2?
Right, Spider-Man's automatically safe.
Yeah, because he belongs to Sony.
I think Hulk's automatically safe.
Yeah, because he can't die.
And also, they can't do an individual Hulk movie because of the rights issues, so he's kind of a shoe-in to always be like in another movie. I think the one that sticks out to me that seems to make sense logistically would be Iron Man.
To survive or to die?
To die. Like, I think all the rest of them will survive. I thought if anybody was going to die in Avengers Age of Ultron, it should have been Hawkeye. And it shouldn't have been Quicksilver. I thought that was like a cheap, easy way out.
Spoiler.
Sorry. So if you haven't seen Age of Ultron, you shouldn't be watching this show. It's live,
still
too,
a really
so
good
I can't
movie.
take it
Yeah,
back.
we can't
Even if
fix
you
it.
haven't seen it.
So
I can throw that movie
I
at
would
you.
say Iron Man because Tony Stark is a character he's built up Stark Industries, and it's already been passed over. Some of the armor's been passed over to War Machine. So he can obviously pass the Iron Man mantle can be taken over by anybody else. It'd be a different Iron Man for sure, but I just think it also makes sense with who Tony Stark is, who Robert Downey Jr. is, and where he is as an actor and his age. He'll be probably like 56 when they're done with Infinity Wars.
Right.
So it feels like I don't think they're going to make another Iron Man 4, 5, and 6. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And if it does, it'll be a brand new Iron Man. So it seems like if they had to kill somebody, I'm always against like just kill somebody. It's like, I don't even know if they have to kill anybody, but if they were going to try to do some kind of a rebooting and the next Avengers would be a brand new team of people, it would make sense to do that.
Mark?
Yeah, this whole question illuminates my fears about Civil War, is that nobody's going to die in Civil War and that there's not a lot of stakes. There's going to be a lot of cuts and bruises and Bactine use, but then we're all mounting up to go to Infinity War Part 1 and 2, where I think a lot of people are going to die. And I echo what Campea asked Schnepp, is like, who do you think is going to survive? Because that's the easier question to answer. It's a smaller list. I think Hawkeye will survive. I think
Really?
because I think the storyline that they gave him in Avengers Age of Ultron proves that he's a guy that they're going to want to keep around, that maybe somebody else might sacrifice themselves to save somebody like Hawkeye. I think that somebody could be
But
Captain America.
by the time Infinity War 2 comes along, that's 3 more films. Isn't that like a long chunk of time?
It is. Hawkeye's got a family, dude.
Okay,
You know?
yeah.
I mean, Tony Stark, I think he could die. I think Captain America could die. I think Thor might die. I think the Hulk is safe. I think Spider-Man's safe. Black Panther is safe. Captain Marvel is safe. Everybody else, man, you better look out.
All right, what's next?
Alex writes, I have always been curious in regards of good CGI between movies and TV. Does the TV production use the same equipment as the movies? If they do, why put so much money into CGI if they're both using the same equipment? Love to hear from you. Thanks, and keep up the great work.
Yeah, basically they are using the same equipment. That's not really where the expense comes from. There's a difference between CGI and television and movies. Like, for instance, last night we did our Flash recap show, and a little bit of a spoiler for those of you who watched Flash but didn't see it last night, just a little bit of a spoiler warning. At the end, King Shark shows up. What? Like this 15-foot tall, like walking great white shark.
Really?
Does he have legs?
Yes, he has legs.
He's got legs, but also the fins of a shark.
The face of a shark.
And the face of the shark and the body, like huge body.
I
And-
would thought they'd never have that character. Are
yeah,
you serious?
And he's there.
Wow.
And we all went, and for the CGI looked amazing. Now, when we said that, understand we're talking in the context of it looked amazing for television. It didn't, if we were comparing it to movie standards, no, it did not. It would have looked really cheesy. But for TV standards, it was quite impressive. The big cost difference in CGI and stuff like that between television and movies isn't which equipment they use. It's the amount of man hours that go into it. Because with a movie, you can know a year in advance. This is our movie. This is this 1-2 year movie. These are the shots that we're going to need, and you can start in. With television, you're putting together, in the case of The Flash, 20, 22 episodes of the season. You got to move a lot faster. You cannot put all the energy and effort into that shot and those effects that you can with the movie. You got to move a lot faster, use a lot less manpower, use a lot less manpower hours, all that kind of stuff. And you end up with stuff that looks nowhere near as good as the movie thing. But if you watch television in that context, it's fine and it works. So we saw King Shark on Flash and went, that looked awesome for television. But yeah, it looked awesome. So that's really where the big cost discrepancy comes from. Shep, you've had a little bit of experience in this type of area. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I agree. And also within television, you have to watch your shots. Like probably there were 2 shots of King Shark, right? There was like a wide shot. And they might add a close one, like, I'm going to kill you, Flash, or whatever. I don't know if
Pretty much, that was his line.
Well, that's how I would have budgeted it as a television producer. I would have been like, you've got 2 shots to make this, and we've got these 6 dudes on it. Because television is a turnaround. Like you said, it's a 48-week schedule to make 22 episodes, and they're basically shooting 1 episode every week. So you have all these people writing the episodes and breaking the story, and then they start to do the animatics for the special effects. Not like a year in advance sometimes, or 2 years in advance with some of these giant movies like Star Wars or Avengers, where you have these storyboard artists working on it. Like there's people, look at it this way. Infinity Wars, which isn't even shooting for another year, has already been completely boarded. All the backgrounds are done. All the special effects are being worked on right now. The previs is what it's called, are being worked on right now. And all those people are like, all the characters, the little animatics of them moving around are being worked on as like a pre-early render. As we speak right now, that's what's happening. That's how early they have to get on it to make those gigantic 4K full screen images that are rendered with dust and smoke and shadow and all this incredible texture. That's all fabricated from nothing. So usually, especially with TV, you also see plates and things like probably King Shark was maybe emerging from the shadows from an alley or from some real setting that they shot. So they don't have to worry about that. All they have to do is worry about creating a CG character, walking into it and getting the shadows and the depth. And that's another thing that comes into it. I'll end it here, otherwise I can go on for a long time, is render time. It's like, to create the reality that we're used to seeing, it's so much more additional lighting and the way the texture and fabric
adds
works.
The complication of the computations and so much render time.
And it's not just a computer pressing a button, bloop, it's done. It's all these real humans looking at every single shot, looking at the hair, looking at we go back to Planet of the Apes, all those movies. That's why you have to always remember it's an actor doing those movements. It's hundreds of animators making it come to life. So it's that kind of background work that goes into all the movies. Not saying that television, that work doesn't go into it. It's just done at a faster speed and a lower cost.
Yeah, so for something like Planet of the Apes, like let's say that movie's 2 hours, the last 3 minutes of that movie are just watching all the effects people in the credits. Like that's another thing.
Yeah, no, it really is.
You have to pay people, they clock in and out. You have to take a lot of time, but there's also just a lot of human beings that have to work on that stuff. When I watch TV, though, it's just like something kind of turns off my head where I'm just more forgiving. Like, because if like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., when I saw the premiere of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I was pretty impressed with how well they did the effects on that. Something like 24 or Lost, it's like, yeah, it doesn't look as good as it would on the big screen, but you kind of give it a break because we get to see those characters every week.
Right.
I mean, the real issue here is that we have sharks walking on land.
Yes.
It doesn't need water to, like, sharks have gills. They need to breathe. Does he have like a little tank on top that has water in him?
He's got a Brita water filter, just like
is this not scary to you guys? There's sharks walking on land.
When he showed up, all I could think about, and I mentioned this in the show last night, was that classic Saturday Night Live land shark skit.
Mailman.
Yeah. Candygram.
Yeah, Candygram.
How does the Flash
Pizza.
stop a shark?
Yeah.
How does it like? Does he just run fast? Like, he's just gonna get eaten quicker?
All right, folks. We said we would take some live Twitter questions, and we're going to do that right now once again. And follow us at Collider Video. So if you're on Twitter, make sure you're following us there as well. So send in your messages to us. I would kiss up to Sinead if I were you, because she is the one who will decide what gets on there. So let's rifle through and take a whole bunch of Twitter questions right now. Sinead,
You guys are really good at kissing up, by the way. Like, really
it's
good.
Sinead's mailbag.
It's Sinead's mailbag.
All right, Shabazz tweets, who wins best trailer, Batman v Superman or Star Wars?
Batman v Superman. Star Wars was a great trailer, especially considering what it was for. But if I'm going to be honest, and obviously Star Wars to me wins every time over anything, anytime. But if I'm going to try to be honest, I thought the Batman vs. Superman trailer was the better trailer, but I would believe with all my heart the Star Wars is going to be the better movie, even though I hope they're both amazing.
I'm going to give Star Wars the edge slightly because Star Wars had everything that I wanted to see in it, nothing that made me think like, oh, I wonder what that is. Like, I'm still a little concerned about how you shoehorn Wonder Woman and General Zod and Lex Luthor into a story that's Batman v Superman. So I'm still a little curious about that. Nothing, I fear nothing with Star Wars.
Yeah, but Star Wars has like 40 characters all shoot. Anyway, I can't pick. I mean, I think they were both so fantastic.
Both great.
Right.
I'm not going to pick in front of you guys.
All right, what's next?
At SL9 Productions tweets, what movie will you be watching this Halloween?
What opens this? Oh, well, we got Burnt. We got. I'll tell you right now. My brand. We talked about this on what's opening this week. Our brand is Crisis. That's the one I'm looking forward to. All three of them, especially a good Halloween film. The sound is going to be fun. I think. A Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. But I'm right from the first trailer, I've been totally hooked on the whole idea of Our Brand is Crisis. So that's the first one I'm probably going to see, but I'm going to see all three of the new ones open up this weekend. What about you, Mark?
I'm taking this question as like, what movie are you watching on Halloween? Like all-time horror kind of classic. So me and my nonfiction girlfriend, to kick off Halloween, we watched Donnie Darko, which I'd never seen before. And I can't wait to watch that movie again. Halloween night, I think I'm going classic. The Exorcist is still a little too scary for this little fella. I think I'm going to go with The Shining, the original, the Jack Nicholson Shining.
Nice. Answering the question the way you phrased it, I would sit down and pop in, with the lights on, American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
I might rock a little Troll Hunter, but I definitely I want to see Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse in the theater. So,
all right, what's next?
At Soccer Boy wants to know, what's the difference between a TV spot and a trailer?
Well, generally speaking, I mean, when you really break it down, they're the same things. A TV spot is just a trailer for TV, but a trailer, you're generally thinking between 2:15 and 2:45 is how long it'll be. A TV spot is generally speaking 30 seconds long. So a TV, because, they don't want to buy 2.5-minute ad block on television because that's really effing expensive. So they have these 30-second spots and theatrical trailers 2:30. How else would you define the difference?
I just hate that we call them trailers. I've never understood why you call them a trailer. Why do we go away from saying preview? Preview is such a cool word. It's a preview. It's before you see the movie. It's before the movie comes on in the theater. Why do we call them trailers? Can anybody answer
I'm just wondering if originally, if trailers came after the feature film. And so they trailed the feature film. I don't know that. I'm making this up totally.
Ooh,
but that would make sense if in the early days of the talkies, if the previews for new films came, and they stick around for previews of new movies, and they came after it, and thus trailing.
Maybe that was around before the Parker brothers stole Monopoly from Lizzie McGuire or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're right. We shouldn't call them trailers. They're
previews.
They're previews.
And we should have that old preview.
Let's all go to
with the little
line.
dancing popcorn box. Yeah. All right. Okay. What's next?
At Watching Us Fade says, did the Vacation reboot doing just okay box office numbers kill the chance of a We're the Millers 2? Both movies are from the same studio.
Well, let's just call it an apple and an orange. Like, We're the Millers was actually entertaining and fun and funny, and I'd love to see a sequel to that. The new Vacation was horrible garbage, unfunny, disgusting hot mess of nothing. And I hated every second that I was enduring when I was on my plane ride. And I was like, I'm not turning it off. Maybe it's going to get better. I laughed once. Actually, I laughed twice because Holly was watching the 40-year-old version, so just that one scene of Paul Rudd at the end dancing forced a laugh out of me silently as I endured Vacation. I have fears about the new Spider-Man because those two guys are writing it. Boy, that was such a disappointment to me. Vacation was horrible.
And one has nothing to do with the other.
They're not linked.
They're not linked. They're two totally. And also, don't forget, while they were both made for roughly the same budget, I think they were both around the $40 million range. We're the Millers made almost triple the amount of money that Vacation did. I think Vacation came in around, I actually got the number in front of me. Vacation came in about 104, 110 internationally, worldwide, all totaled, whereas We're the Millers came in at about 270 million on like a 30 or 40 million dollar budget. So they're not going to look at an obvious cash cow and go, but this other totally unrelated movie didn't do well, so we're going to take a pass on this. Totally unrelated.
Yeah, and Vacation wasn't so bad that it ruined a studio. Like, oh, we're never making comedies again.
Right.
Like, Vacation, I didn't love it either. I thought it went to gross out humor too much. We're the Millers. I'd love to see a sequel to that if you can shoehorn Nick Offerman's character in there.
I was
somewhere.
about to
he's
say,
gotta get back in there, yeah.
Offerman has got to be returned.
Yeah.
He's like one of the highlights of We're the Millers.
It's Catherine Hahn was his wife, was it
Yes.
not? I love her. I love when she pops up and things. All right, what's next?
Benny tweets, how much knowledge or story do you need to know to enjoy Star Wars Episode 7 for people that have never touched the original Star Wars?
As somebody who has not seen Star Wars Episode 7, that's very difficult to answer. I mean, I honestly don't know. I would assume they're going to not alienate anybody who hasn't seen the movies. They're probably going to make this movie in such a way that in the first 5 or 10 minutes, they will pretty much tell you everything you need to know. That being said, see Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. You'll just be in much better footing to watch and enjoy Episode 7. I believe. Was it absolutely necessary? I got a feeling it probably won't be, although I haven't seen Episode 7 yet. But I think you're probably putting yourself in a good position if you go out and watch Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. How do you guys see it?
Star Wars does an amazing thing where they give you 3 paragraphs of exposition right up top. So you know
with the
they're going to tell you
scrolling,
what has happened. Now, it's going to be a lot to recap. 30 years have gone by since Return of the Jedi, so you're going to have to cram a lot of information into that pretty much tweet of a sentence. But I think that you don't need to see anything. I think that this movie is going to do a good enough job of telling you a new story. Now, you can be like me and worship the original trilogy. You could be like Campea and Christian. You can read all the books. Whatever your level of Star Wars going into it, I think you're going to love this movie.
Yeah, and I think Han Solo is going to be the Obi-Wan of this movie, because like Obi-Wan in the very first movie was like, your father died during the Clone Wars. He was, this is what a lightsaber is. He gave all this exposition, during a cool scene with Luke turning this lightsaber on, so you found out there's more to this old man and this and that. Han Solo is going to play that character by talking about the dark side and the Jedi and the war that's now been transformed into these other things. So I don't think you have to see the first 3, but I think you should see the first 3. They're
Here's
great
a good
films.
example, though. Here's a good example. If you watch 4 people sitting in the theater watching Episode 7, 2 of them together here, 2 of them together here, and then Han Solo comes on screen and says, "Chewie, we're home." These 2 guys are watching the screen going, wow. And these 2 guys are in tears. I'll tell you which ones saw the original trilogy.
That's right.
Those are the guys that saw the original trilogy, and it just makes it's all that more meaningful to you. So, like I said, it won't be a prerequisite, but I would recommend it.
And as a social experiment, I'd almost like for some people out there who haven't seen any of the Star Wars movies to not see them until you see Episode 7. Like,
that would be interesting.
Make that your inaugural venture into the Star Wars world, and then let us know what you think. Now, having said that, we still have like a month and a half, 2 months before we see this movie. So, if you're bored, see Star Wars.
Do you know
It's
if Alicia
awesome.
Malone ever saw Star Wars yet?
She had seen them. I
No,
think.
she had.
I think she had seen them.
Really?
I don't think she's seen the prequels.
She said she had.
I think she's seen the originals.
Yeah, so she's not the true Star Wars.
If not, I'm
movies.
placing a phone call right now.
All right. What's next? Let's see a couple more rapid fire.
Okay, I've seen this one like 25 times already. Dylan wants to know, what if Luke Skywalker is already dead before The Force Awakens? A Force ghost?
We already know he's not.
Nope.
No, he's not dead.
Yeah, let's not have that happen.
No. All right, what's next?
Alex tweets, what happened with the Leonardo DiCaprio biopic about President Woodrow Wilson?
Yeah, I haven't. But here's the thing, though. With Leo, like 18 projects come out that he's announced to be attached with, and sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. I haven't heard anything to suggest it's moving ahead. I haven't heard anything to suggest that it's dead. He was also supposed to. Wasn't he supposed to do Frank Sinatra as well?
Ooh,
Wasn't he going to do Frank Sinatra with Scorsese?
He's doing something with the next movie. His next movie is a Scorsese.
He's probably going to do several Scorsese movies, but I mean, I thought he was supposed to do like so. Who knows where his project?
I'd like to see him as Frank Sinatra, run into him as J. Edgar, and then they can just go back and forth.
All right, what's next?
At Flirt tweets, I recently saw We Are Your Friends and I enjoyed it, but will this hurt Zac Efron's career?
Yes.
It's already hurt his career, and you're the only person who's seen that movie.
I mean, that's the great things about movies. The great things about movies, no matter how good, how bad, whatever, movies are art and they hit us differently. And, everybody else can say a movie sucks, but if it hit you a certain way that you enjoyed it, awesome. Then it's good that it worked out for somebody. It didn't work out for anybody at this table, but that's fine. I mean, if you enjoyed it, that's great. But because most people really hated it, it probably will hurt his career at this point. Let's see how his next couple films do, and maybe he can recover from
One of
that.
which might be Neighbors, too. So I think he might have to be in a
that
couple of
might
those
be a nice
franchising
one to
movies he's already
follow.
associated with before you get back in front of a movie poster by yourself. But I don't think long term, I don't think it'll harm it.
Two more quick ones.
Kieran tweets, what do you guys think the reasons are for The Walk not being a successful movie?
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, that's really one we could do a 20-minute special on is why didn't people go out to see it? Schnepp, what are your initial thoughts?
I just saw it like 3 days ago. I thought it was an entertaining film. It felt a little underwhelming, I'll say that. Like, it was, the special effects were great. It was great to see the Twin Towers again. It felt like a love letter to the Twin Towers more so than a story about this insane dude who wanted to, I must climb, I must walk across these. You know what? I didn't find myself that enthralled by this guy's vision of tightroping. I didn't really like the main character. I mean, I thought Levitt he was good, and really, bravo to him for learning how to tightrope walk and things like that. But honestly, it was sort of like, aside from the really cool, like, whoa, my stomach's feeling weird because they're doing these low angle shots of, like, you're all on the top of the World Trade Center. It was kind of one note to me. It was like, oh, this weird, crazy French guy wants to get on and walk across the World Trade Center. There, he did it. The end of the movie. So I found it was a little one note to me.
I don't get it. I thought more people should have gone to see it. It was a great theater experience. I loved watching the movie. So I saw ads for it. Like watch ESPN a lot.
They
I saw a lot
marketed
of it. Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm still not sure why. I'll admit that the trailers didn't blow me away, but I thought they were decent trailers. They certainly marketed the film enough. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a reliable performer, and people like him, although maybe some people didn't realize it was Joseph Gordon-Levitt with the wig and
the French accent.
The French accent and stuff like that. Maybe that alienated some people. I don't know. I'm say, wait, so the movie's about this one time he walked across the wire, and maybe that turned some people off. I don't know. It was a movie that deserved better than it got, but it's a good question. We should probably go in that more in depth. All right, last question of the day.
Jason says, if you could visit any set in time just to observe, which one would you visit?
Star Wars. Ooh. Be there when George Lucas had everybody telling him this movie will never work. All the crew hated the movie. They all laughed at him. As they were making the movie, the crew were laughing at George Lucas, saying this movie's going to be a disaster. Even a lot of his own actors are telling him this is going to be horrendous. I would love to be there and just listen to them and grin.
I would love that. I would like to be there, but not in Tunisia, where it was like 100. Where it's 125 degrees. I would like to be on the set, of Pinewood or something.
Yeah, see, I think I'm going across the country with Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper in Easy Rider. Because like they filmed during the day actually riding across country. Then at night they just stayed at like a random cheap hotel and just partied their ace off. That's what I want to do.
I want to be on set with Francis Ford Coppola directing Apocalypse Now.
Nope, I do not.
I do.
I would never.
I want to be, because that was like a miasma of partying, drugs, sex, craziness for like almost 2 years. That sounds fantastic.
It almost drove everybody insane.
It sounds fun.
All right, folks, that'll do it for us for this installment of Campea's Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to all of you guys who watch this show live as well. Listen, don't forget, lots of great films playing out at our friends over at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. If you love entertainment news, make sure you bookmark collider.com. The whole crack crew over there keeping you up to date on everything going on in the world of entertainment. And I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. First of all, sitting over here on my left, Mr. Jon Schnepp. Schnepp, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me at Twitter and Instagram, just at Jon Schnepp and at TDOSLWH. You can find me this weekend at Stan Lee's Kamikaze at booth 329. Me and Holly will be there selling our film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. Get some Blu-rays and posters and stuff. We'll be screening the film on Saturday at 1 o'clock. And we'll also be at the Movie Talk
panel
on Sunday at 3 o'clock. Joining everyone here is going to hopefully be there. Sinead, you're going to be there, right?
On Sunday, I'm not sure.
Well,
you're going.
You should write in to Sinead and make sure she comes. But it's going to be a lot of fun. So go to Stan Lee's Kamikaze this weekend.
Mark?
I'll bring you a box of Krispy Kreme. if you show up. I will bring a box of Krispy Kreme. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. Wow, really? At 5150 Ellis. I'll be at Kamikaze this weekend as well. Next weekend, I'll be at Cap City Comedy Club in Austin, Texas. See you guys there.
And of course, our lovely host today, Sinead DeFries. Sinead, where can people find you?
I'm going to try super hard to be there, especially since now.
One dozen.
One dozen.
I might
Can I
eat a
eat the
couple on
entire
the way.
dozen?
I might eat a couple on the way.
Okay, that's fine. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Sinead DeFries and at thatsosinead.com.
And hey, on top, one of the shows that we do, of course, is Jedi Council. This Thursday on Jedi Council, Christian and Mark and I are going to be joined by the voice of Kanan himself from Star Wars Rebels. Actor Freddie Prinze Jr. will be in studio with us talking Star Wars. Should be a lot of fun. You guys can follow me on Facebook and on Twitter, simply at Jon Campea. So for myself, the entire crew, Wendy and Ray and Dennis back there, and thank you to you guys again. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.